Instead of our regular Torah love song to God, page 10, Yedid Nefesh, a different love song.
Yedid Nefesh, Avraham, Avraham, Meshach Avdecha, Eretz Onecha, Yedid Nefesh, Avraham, Avraham, Meshach Avdecha, Eretz Onecha, Eretz Onecha, Yarutz Avdecha, Yedid Nefesh, Avraham, Avraham, Meshach Avdecha, Eretz Onecha, Eretz Onecha.
At the bottom of page 41. Salvation is the Jew's victory over human limitations, ignorance, or insensitivity. It is the conquest of sinfulness, of the evils resident within the self, pride, selfishness, hate, lust, cynicism, the deliberate rejection of goodness and truth. As we join together on page 40 in our Song of Redemption, Salvation, let us consider those words by Milton Steinberg.
like you? Adonai, who is like you? Adonai, ya la la la, ya la 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 la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Mi kamocha ba'edim Adonai, mi kamocha neda b'kodesh, nora tehilo, tosei pele, nora tehilo, tosei pele. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la la, ya la 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 la. לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי, אני ואמרו, זה אלי, אני ואמרו. אדוני, ימלוך לעולם ועד. יא לה לה לה, יא לה 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 לה לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה. More than the people of Israel has kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jewish people. Please join us for Vishamru on page 44. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
כי ששת ימים, כי ששת ימים, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ,
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Page 46, Tefillah.
Adonai, Sefatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Yalalai, lai, lai, 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 yalalai, lai, lai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Geula livnei b'neichem, L'ma'an Shemo ve'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh metim ata Rav v'Hoshia, Morid hatal, Mechakel chaim b'chesed, Mechayeh metim berachamim rabim, Somech noflim v'rofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem elunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha bal gevurot, Umido meloch, Melech memit, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata la'achayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hametim. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el
Please join me in English at the bottom of page 54. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness and gladden us with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai our God, grant as our heritage your holy Shabbat, that Israel, who sanctifies your name, may rest on it. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, amcha Yisrael, u'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, amcha Yisrael, u'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel. U'tehi leratzon tamid, avodat Yisrael amecha. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, amcha Yisrael, u'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel. El karov lechol karov, v'nei alav adecha, v'chonenu, shefoch ruchacha aleinu, v'techezenu einenu b'shovecha l'Tzion, berachamim. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu be'amcha Yisrael, amcha Yisrael, u'tefilatam be'ahava tekabel. Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch hu baruch shemo.
המחזיר שכינתו לציון.
In the middle of page 59. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars that you set in place, what are we humans that you are mindful of us? We mortals that you take note of us together. You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, u'lecha na'eh lehodot. Our prayer for great peace, page 60.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata Adonai Adon, Lecha Shalom.
At this time, we join on our Shabbat inserts this evening in our prayer for healing for all of those who are in need of God's presence in their lives, be they broken in body, mind, or spirit. We offer blessings of healing to Matthew Burry, Shirley Cohen, Amy and Stephanie Cooper, Andrew Fisher, Roger Friedenson, Beatrice Fry, Jonathan Gluckman, Trudy Gould, Dick Kelvin, Sandra McPeters, Chaya Gavriela Batgeula, Shirley Rappaport, Jean Rosner, Deborah Sanders, Brandy Scharf, Gary Schoenberg, Julie Sherman, Eileen Simon, Howard Stafford, Elaine Stein, Bob Ward, and Chana Van Regenmorter. Are there additional names that you would like to add? If so, please raise your hands really high so that I can see you and as our gazes meet. Please, God, heal her, heal us.
Dear God of our ancestors,
Dear God of our ancestors,
help us renew our faith.
help us renew our faith.
Grant us a perfect healing.
Grant us a perfect healing.
Bring peace to all our days.
Bring peace to all our days.
Restore our strength of body.
Restore our strength of body.
Help clarify our mind.
Help clarify our minds.
Refresh our tired spirit.
Refresh our tired spirits.
Rejuvenate our lives.
Rejuvenate our lives.
Thank you for all these blessings.
Thank you for all these blessings.
Throughout our days and nights,
Throughout our days and nights.
we celebrate the journey.
We celebrate the journey.
This precious gift of life. welcome you to share in a moment of silent meditation. Imre fi, ve'yon libi lefanecha. Yehiyu leratzon, imre fi, ve'yon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, ve'yo ali. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, ve'yo ali. Yehiyu leratzon, imre fi, ve'yon libi lefanecha. Yehiyu leratzon, imre fi, ve'yon libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, ve'yo ali. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, ve'yo ali. Yehiyu leratzon, imre fi, ve'yon libi lefanecha.
There were even more la la las than I realized. There were a lot of la las. Did you plan that?
I mean, you know, if you like it, I did.
Smart, smart, smart. It doesn't take much effort to be cynical these days. And it would be so very easy for me to stoke despair in all of you too, by offering just a few bars on the imminent North Carolina abortion ban, the proliferation of book banning, and legislation prohibiting gender-affirming medical care, and the Anti-Defamation League's rising tally of anti-Semitic incidents, the number of rockets poured down on Israel in the last 3 days, the threats of fundamentalism, white nationalism, and the crumbling of democracy here and around the world, or the grim picture of climate collapse. Any one of those would probably do the trick. And we'd all nod our heads with recognition and resignation. It would be far too easy for me to give that sermon tonight. But I don't think that's the sermon we need to hear, nor is it a particularly Jewish sermon. What's the harm in a little cynicism, you ask? Let me explain it this way. If you're cynical, it means that you think you know what's going to happen, and what's going to happen is going to be bad. And if you know the future and it's not pretty, You abdicate any responsibility to do anything about it. And most of all, when you believe that all is lost and there's nothing we can do about it, hope becomes naive at best, irresponsible at worst. The sermon I think we need to hear today is, yes, we've fallen on hard times. But as Jews, I don't think we can let cynicism and despair overtake us. We can't afford to. The truth is, we've never been a cynical people. A cynical people, oppressed for centuries, doesn't give rise to a Theodore Herzl who would say, Im tirtzu ein zo agada. If you will it, it is no dream. A cynical people wouldn't even hear those words, let alone heed them by starting a movement to build a modern state of Israel. A cynical people doesn't restore its faith in itself, humanity, and God after 6 million of their family members are slaughtered. A cynical people doesn't believe we can repair what we've broken and truly repent until our last breath. A cynical people doesn't spend 24 hours every week ceasing their labor to experience the exquisite perfection of the world as it is. Cynicism is not our essence as Jews. Moreover, the essence of the Jewish people is not our persecution, it is our persistence. The essence of the Jewish people is not having the answer, but in having questions and many answers, of seeing multiple truths at once. In other words, we've never been certain about anything, including the future. And perhaps a little uncertainty about the future is a good thing if it keeps us thinking that this cynical moment might just give way to a new and better moment. This week, Jews around the world read 2 Torah portions, Bahar and Bechukotai, and both take their haftarot from the book of Jeremiah, who may just be my favorite prophet of all. In the Haftarah portion for Parashat Bahar, Jeremiah is sitting in prison, and his king, Zedekiah of Judah, incarcerated him for prophesying that the Babylonians would prevail over the Judeans and send Zedekiah and our entire people into exile. And in this moment, Jeremiah's cousin, Hanamel, comes to visit him and asks Jeremiah to buy his land in Anatot, explaining that Jeremiah is next in succession to redeem it by purchase. We understand this from Parashat Bahar, where we learn if one's kinsman becomes poor and must sell off a part of his land, his closest relative must redeem what his kinsman had to sell so that the land stays within their family holding. So Hanamel offers his cousin Jeremiah the opportunity to buy the land from him before he's forced to sell it to someone else. And then Jeremiah does something radical and wholly uncynical. While he can plainly see that Judea is already under siege from the Babylonians and knows that his people's exile from their land is imminent, Jeremiah nevertheless measures out the silver, writes up a deed, seals it, has it witnessed, and gives it to his assistant to place in an earthen jar for long-term storage. And Jeremiah explains to all who are there with him that he's done this because he's confident that a future time will come when, quote, houses, fields, and vineyards shall again be purchased in this land. You see, we are Jeremiah's spiritual descendants. We survived that destruction and the exile of his time, as well as crusades, pogroms, statelessness, economic depressions, Holocaust, nuclear war, terrorism, and depression, up until our own time. And amid all the disruptive and troubling things that are happening in our day, we Jews are also, despite how we might feel sometimes, acting extraordinarily uncynical. We, like Jeremiah, are planning for a hopeful future. We are still marking our holy seasons by the phases of the moon, whose light expands to fullness and diminishes to nothing, to embed the message in us that no matter how dark the night, the moon will return to light our way, even when that possibility isn't visible. We are still putting down stakes by building and sustaining synagogues. Our temples are still places Jews go to regenerate our sense of hope, a place we can be inspired to keep hoping and keep working together to make ourselves and our world better. Jews return like homing pigeons to sanctuaries around the world, not to pray for another good meal at their favorite restaurant, but to pray for courage to face pain or loss, should it come our way. Jews make their way to synagogues across the length and breadth of our globe, not to ask God for the easy stuff, but to ask for the insight to work with a challenging child, or the wisdom to communicate with an alienated family member. Jews come to shul because in the recesses of our spirits, we know that war and hatred and persecution can be overcome. The peace is possible, even if we don't know the path to it. In our temples, we find hope because we need hope to make real what we know to be true deep in our hearts. Indeed, our surviving and thriving is a testament to our people's unbroken, hopeful spirit, not a testament to our pessimism or fatalism. In fact, one etymological source for the Hebrew word for hope, tikva, also comes from the prophet Jeremiah in this week's Haftarah for Bechukotai. In that, Jeremiah calls God Mikveh Yisrael, the hope of Israel. But in the Talmud, Rabbi Akiva taught that Jeremiah really meant Mikvah Yisrael, God as the pool of Israel. Just as a mikvah, a ritual bath, purifies the impure, so God purifies Israel. Hope is a pool that has the promise of purification and regeneration. This idea of hope as a pooling and gathering offers another insight into the Jewish meaning of hope, because when we pool our resources and our hope together, we deepen our own reservoirs. Even with the persecution and struggles they faced, the rabbis of the Talmud exhorted us, so long as a person is alive, he has hope. And this is especially true if he has a community, a group, a shul to remind him. For those of us who are worn down and tired, who feel bone dry from worry and fear and despair, look again. For everything that is going wrong, there is a lot that's also going right. I can think of at least 7 Jewish babies who were born into this congregation in the last year in the shadow of a pandemic. Where there is life, there is hope. We have 8 confirmation class students to celebrate in less than 2 weeks, 7 of whom had severely curtailed or delayed B'nai Mitzvah celebrations, and yet chose to continue their Jewish involvement and education and become leaders in our religious school. Each month, we're awarding Golden Kippot and Rainbow Yads that mark our youth's commitment to learning Hebrew, despite the many pandemic disruptions along the way. My reservoir of hope is replenished when 5 high school juniors go to Washington, Maya, to vigorously lobby our Congress people on what Reform Jews have to say about gun control, economic justice, and reproductive health care, even though those representatives are not inclined to support their positions. My reservoir of hope fills up, knowing I will show up and see many of you tomorrow at 4 o'clock at Rabbit Rabbit, fighting for reproductive justice, even though we will likely lose that battle in our state for now. My reservoir of hope is filled when I think of our sisterhood's leadership in restoring not one, but two of our precious Torah scrolls, a proclamation of faith in the Jewish people's alive present and hopeful future. Mother Teresa once said, "Do not think that love, in order to be genuine, has to be extraordinary. What we need to do is to love without getting tired." Perhaps a rabbi would phrase it like this: do not think that your hope needs to be extraordinary. What we need to do is to hope without getting tired. We need to look at the moon and be reminded that the light always returns to the dark sky. We need to be like Jeremiah and have hope still, even when all indications are that our hope is lost. Let us not be cynics. Let us not grow tired. Let us draw from the reservoir of hope that has kept the Jewish people alive. Let us live with vigorous hope in our hearts. And let us be prophets in our day, speaking and praying and marching and voting our hopes into a better future. Shabbat Shalom. Did you get the transmission, y'all? All right. Now, I invite you to please rise so that we can locate ourselves in our beautiful Jewish calendar, this moment between Pesach and Shavuot, our footsteps to receiving Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefirat haomer.
Amen. Hayom Shiva Ushloshim Yom Shehem Chamisha Shavuot Ushnei Yamim LaOmer. This is the 37th day, totaling 5 weeks and 2 days of the Omer. I invite you to remain standing as we join together in the middle of page 282 for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני
A reading not in your Sidurim by Henry Van Dyke. I am standing upon the seashore. A ship at my side spreads her white sails to the morning breeze and starts for the blue ocean. She is an object of beauty and strength. I stand and watch her until at length she hangs like a speck of white cloud just where the sea and sky come to mingle with each other. Then, Someone at my side says, "There, she is gone." Gone where? Gone from my sight. That is all. She is just as large in mast and hull and spar as she was when she left my side, and she is just as able to bear her load of living freight to her destined port. Her diminished size is in me, not in her. And just at that moment when someone at my side says, "There, she is gone," there are other eyes watching her and other voices ready to take up the glad shout. Here she comes. And that is dying. Our thoughts turn now to all of those who have departed, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives are a blessing to humanity. We mention by name Sandy Blum, father of Darren, father-in-law to Cheryl, and grandfather to Jake, Brittany, and Lindsay, and Phyllis Sultan, both of whom passed in recent days. And we acknowledge the yard sites of Henry Bernstein, Henry Corden, Ida Garfinkel, Ray Jaffe, Marjorie Joseph, Sidney Krakowitz, Harry Levinson, Sophie Levinson, Harry Orris, Jeffrey Scott Orris, Harry Saskill, Miriam Siegel, and Florence Wolfson. If there are names to add in memory, I invite you to share them aloud. If you are, Larry. If you're here remembering a loved one or are in mourning, I invite you to rise so that we might acknowledge your grief. And I invite the congregation to turn with you to page 294, stand beside in support of you as we all join together in the mourner's Kaddish, grateful for the gifts of life and memory. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yamechon u'b'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam alamei maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudesha brichu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shamaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru amen.
I close my eyes only for a moment, and the moment's gone. All my dreams pass before my eyes, a curiosity, dust in the wind. Same old song, just a drop of water in an endless sea. All we do crumbles to the ground, though we refuse to see. Dust in the wind, all we are is dust in the wind.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I am Sabrina Rockoff. I'm representing the Board of Trustees this evening. I have a few announcements to share. Next Sunday is the Brotherhood Brunch at 10 a.m. Everyone is invited. The speaker is John Boyle with Asheville Watchdog. He always proves to be a thoughtful and provocative presenter. RSVP by Wednesday to Ted Zoller. Please mark your calendars for our Shavuot and Confirmation service a week from Thursday, May 25th at 7 p.m. This is a special service celebrating the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai, and our confirmation class will be celebrating their commitment to our faith and sharing their autobiographical Jewish journeys. Sisterhood's annual meeting and high tea to celebrate Woman of the Year Joanne Rosenblum is June 4th at 1 p.m. Everyone is invited. Please stand and tell us where you, your name? No? Okay. Oh, there we go.
Hi. I haven't joined yet. I came down last week, 2 weeks ago from Alaska, and I'm glad to be a part of this congregation. It's very nice, and I can't wait to see what I have to do to be a member.
Welcome, welcome. Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Addie. For any visitors, please be sure to stop by the Shalom table in Dave Hall for more information on CBHT and to talk to someone from our engagement committee. Who is here from the engagement committee? Ah, there we go. Awesome. We have several folks from the engagement committee. Danielle. Okay. There we go. So Isaac and I are sponsoring the ONEG tonight in honor of all of Addie's teachers here at CBHT. And those are certainly her religious school teachers, and but it's also really this entire congregation. You all have shown up for us as a family, and there's nothing like having a child graduating from high school to make you realize all the ways that this congregation has influenced who she is as a person, all of the holidays and the meals you've shared with us, all of the example that you have shown for our children and specifically for Addie. So thank you all from the bottom of our hearts, and we look forward to seeing you at the ONEG.
I want to invite up the Mensch. I think the Mensch chose this song.
Come on, Mensch.
So I think it would be silly not to have her with us. And I think the Mensch's sister would be a great addition as well.
Good point.
So,
Because there are
Another-
also hands. There's also hands. We do hands here. We do hands. Do they do hands in Alaska? They do hands. Please rise.
We all got a life to live. We all got a great to
B'Tselem Elohim. Breshit bara Elohim. Breshit bara Elohim. Breshit bara Elohim. All our hopes and all our dreams. Breshit bara Elohim. Each one of us. B'Tselem Elohim. Breshit bara Elohim. All our hopes and all our dreams. Breshit bara Elohim. Each one of us. B'Tselem Elohim. Yeah, when I reach out to you, B'Tselem Elohim. Yeah, 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 yeah. B'Tselem Elohim. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Each one of us. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Each one of us. B'Tselem Elohim.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah. Waiting on him to do it.